circus going overtime. I think it was worth it, and this will go for an hour. I want to be sensitive of time. If you have other things that you need to go to, you can slip out. You won't be offended. But thank you for joining us here for this really special second hour. We have 3 guests with us today. This is Andee, Ace, and Erik. And we're just going to start out by having them share their experiences, introduce themselves, and then we will ask questions and sort of organically go from there. So why don't we close the door? Thank you, Carl. Begin with Andee.
Well, thank you for welcoming me into your church today. It was a very good experience for me. I haven't been to a church in a long time, except for Erik's wedding. And I've never been to an affirming church either. I'll tell you a little bit about myself. I'm a transgender woman. I was married for 20-something years. I have a 19-year-old son who attends Champlain College in Burlington, Vermont. And I've been transitioning for maybe 6 years internally and 2 years on hormone replacement therapy. So growing up, I was born just like everybody else, child, and I knew nothing about gender. Everybody was the same to me. I really didn't know that there was anything like boys and girls. But I did have an older sister, and I had, for some reason in my neighborhood, all my neighbors were girls, and I associated with them, hung out with them. They were my best friends. And I thought nothing about it until I got to kindergarten. At that point in your lives, when you start school, they separate you and categorize you. It's like boys over here, girls over here. And to me it was confusing. It's like, why can't I be with my friends? So I started to learn that there is a difference between boys and girls. And I'm not saying that it's not that I had this strong feeling that I was a girl. I just never really felt like anything. Boy or girl, kind of just me. I mean, I don't know. Somebody asked me a couple years ago, it was a hateful person. They're like, well, if you are a transgender woman, what does it feel like to be a woman then? And I'm like, I really don't know. I don't know what it feels like. I don't know what it feels like to be a woman. I just know what it feels like to be me. So I could look back at my life and find certain times where I was very confused. I was always fascinated with women and with their clothing, with their femininity, with their long hair, and I wanted to have those things too. I could stand up.
Oh, yeah.
Right. So everybody can see me now. So I remember at the age of 6, going up into my parents' bedroom, and I just wanted to try on my mom's dress, one of her pretty dresses that I was fascinated with. And I put it on, and I just felt really good. Well, my dad, being raised as an Irish Catholic, he wasn't too happy about that when he found out, and he beat me and said all kinds of things and made me feel ashamed. So I started to learn then there's something wrong with me. What I feel about myself is wrong, and I'm kind of ashamed and embarrassed. I need to hide this. So growing up as early teens, it was really difficult for me because I should also mention, which is very confusing to people, not only am I transgender, but I'm also a lesbian. So that kind of alienates me to a lot of people and puts me out of a lot of groups and categories. So women I would look at, and it was like, I would be attracted to them, but it was like, I want to be you. I want to be you. And So it was tough for my relationships with girls that I was really confused about what to do. So I had to kind of hide that about myself through my whole life. There were times where I would borrow some of my sister's clothes, try them on so I would feel good, and then feel bad about it. It happened all throughout my teens. There were a couple times where when I got a job, I actually bought some clothing for myself, and I would secretly come home at night and just feel good to be as a woman. But I had to keep it as a secret. My friends at one time found this magazine with a transsexual woman in it. They passed it around and made comments and thought it was disgusting. So then I would see programs on TV. We didn't have internet or anything like that when I was growing up, so I kind of felt like I'm like the only person in the world that feels like this. And I didn't have really anybody to talk to, and I didn't understand it. So I was being raised, again, as Irish Catholic. I had a lot of shame. I had a lot of embarrassment. I just couldn't be myself, and I fought it. I ended up getting married to the woman I dated in high school as a senior, and she, I guess she was in love with me. I wasn't really in love, but I felt like I dated her for like 6 years, and it was kind of, getting married was a way to hide from myself who I was. Because maybe if I'm married, I wouldn't think about the things that I was feeling, because I really didn't understand. So we were married for quite a while, and we had a child, but I couldn't stop. I couldn't stop. You can't help what you feel. I don't know if anybody has ever felt something. You just can't stop it. So I ended up. It was very difficult having to hide my whole life from her and live my life as a lie, even though I didn't really understand anything about myself. It wasn't until I was going through divorce, the last year of our marriage. I had a problem being really intimate with her because she's not really a nice person. She's very hateful and very bigoted, and it would be like, we'd be in public and she'd be pointing out to people, making comments, and I just couldn't take living like that anymore, because I'm very accepting of everybody. And it was very hard for me. If I had a conversation with somebody, I would go home and maybe my life was pretty rough for the next week. So I ended up seeing a counselor the last year of my marriage for intimacy issues, because I felt I had some issue. I can't be intimate with this one particular person. I actually knew why. I don't like you as a person. So it was difficult. Through counseling, it came out that, hey Andee, you're transgender. Talking about my life with my counselor, and I'm like, wow, I don't even know what that word means. I've heard of transsexual, but I've never heard of transgender. So she explained it to me, and I ended up going to counseling. It was a psychotherapy, which psychotherapy is to heal your soul. So it was through seeing her that I got to learn, sounds kind of corny, but to love myself and who I am and accept myself. We told my wife, and she thought we were making it up. She didn't believe it. Can't be true. You guys are like tricking me. We're like, no. So she was initially kind of accepting, because she felt that maybe this could bring us together and we could save our marriage. But it got to the point where she said, well, you can never tell anybody. I don't want you to ever tell anybody, which meant to me that she's ashamed of me and what I am. So I couldn't deal with that. I ended up filing for divorce, and it was a pretty terrible period of time. She was very threatening. She threatened to out me to everybody at work. She was going to send pictures, leave them in the front entranceway, tell my boss, tell my family, tell everybody I know that Andee's transgender. And it was very terrifying for me because I had all these fears. Like she said, people are going to hate you. People are going to smile to your face, but laugh behind your back. Nobody's ever going to love you, and nobody's going to like you. So I had all these thoughts. Not only that, at the time there were no rights to protect transgender people in the state. I was worried about I would get fired because that goes on all the time. So I ended up taking that power away from her by first telling my parents, my mom. My parents got divorced when I was like 11. So I told my mom and my sister because I was like the most closest to her. And my mom cried, and my sister hugged me, but she said, I don't really understand what I'm going to learn about what you are. And I asked my mom why she was crying. And she said she was crying because she was so sorry that I felt this way my whole life and never told her. But both of them also said that we're going to try to understand what you are, but if you ever show up looking like a woman, we don't really want to see you. And my sister said she wouldn't open the door. So it took a long time for that. Another thing going through divorce with my son, who was 12 at the time, the divorce court, my wife's lawyer and the guardian ad litem, I filed for sole custody of my son and possession of my home. They all felt that I don't make a suitable parent because I'm transgender. So I had to sign an agreement that I'm not allowed to disclose my gender identity to my son until he turns 18 or until the court decides that it's okay. So basically he's 19 now, for the past 6 years, I had to hide that from him. I had to hide it from work. I had to live two lives. I lived a life as a female outside of work, but when I saw my son or I went to work, I would have to be a male. It wasn't too bad at first, but after like 5 years, it got to be extremely difficult because at first I was ashamed. Like, what if people see me out as a woman? What are they going to think? And then it got switched around. It's like, basically because when I got divorced, I didn't have a single friend in the world. I knew nobody at all. So I started to meet all these wonderful people. I have so many friends now, and all they've ever known me as Andee, the transgender person. So now I'm thinking, well, what if these people see me as a guy? How embarrassing. So it was really tough. My son turned 18 last year. Actually, I lost sole custody of my son, and I lost my home. I lost everything I owned. And but I got to see my son every week, every Wednesday and every weekend. Yeah, I called him every day. We maintained a close relationship. But all the while, it's like he can never know who I really am. So as we were approaching his 18th birthday, all my friends are there. Oh, gee, Andee, you get to tell him now. Aren't you excited? I'm like, no, I'm not. Because I've been told by his mom for the past 6 years that he's going to hate me, that he's resentful, that I've ruined his life, and basically he was ashamed of me. So I'm like, I'm going to wait till he's done with high school. I don't want to dump this on him. He's got like 3 months left in high school. So then it comes to June, graduates from high school. Wow, Andee, you get to tell him now. Let's go tell him you have this big party. You can come out to him. Like, I'd like to let him get through his last summer before college. Because I don't want to have to dump that on him. So as we approached, there was like 3 weeks left for him to go to college. And I got the courage, it's like, I got to do this now, because I don't want him to be far away and not with any of his friends. I don't know how he's going to deal with this. So I did. That night I said, I'm going to come over tonight and I need to talk to you about something. It was fine. So for me, it was like this huge thing I've been worried about for 6 years. And I had not really prepared what to say. I had no idea what I was going to tell him. But I just told him that I've always loved you and I always will. And I have something to tell you that will probably change the way you feel about me. But I just want you to know that I'll understand. And you'll always be, I will always love you for the rest of my life. So I told him. And he's there, yeah, I know. I'm like, what? He goes, it's okay, Dad, I know, it's all right. I'm like, wow. I didn't say another word, like, all my friends were, how did he find out? How long, it didn't matter to me. It didn't matter because he was fine. He was fine with it. But he was okay with that concept of what I am, but not what I look like. So that was another tough part. Happened a few months later. He came home for, I think, Columbus Day weekend, and I play roller derby on a women's roller derby league. He needed a ride to the bus stop, and I'm like, well, I have practice. And he's there. That's okay. I'm like, but I live my life as a woman. You're gonna have to see what I look like. He said, okay. So I pull up to his house, and he gets into the car, and he's kind of like walking this way, like looking at his cell phone. And he sat down in the car next to me, not looking at me. He's texting. I'm talking to him. He's texting. So we're driving to the bus stop, and I guess he was expecting that I was going to act differently. I was going to, I don't know, be exaggerated, ultra feminine. I don't really know what people think when they hear the word transgender, because it scares a lot of people. I mean, a lot of people are afraid of the word and what it means, and especially being his dad. So I saw him a couple times take like a little peek, and as we got to the bus stop, he looked at me and we talked, and he was okay. He got out. We're waiting for the bus. I'm like, can I take a picture of me and you, like the very first time? So I did. I posted on Facebook. I was really proud of that. So he's very, he calls me Dad, which is fine. Sometimes we'll be in the line getting food and he'll like, my dad's paying for it. I'm like, because I am his dad, I'll always be his dad. But I still had work to deal with. I'm like, I'm going to wait until I'm done with my Alloy, which is this September, because I know that I'm going to get fired. I'm going to get fired, I just know it. What had happened was there was a woman in my company that had seen my picture. It was roller derby women over 40, and she went up to somebody else and said, hey, what's going on with Andee? And the other person knew who I was, and said, I'm not at liberty to discuss what's going on with Andee, but you should respect Andee's privacy, not using any particular gender on me. So at that point, this other person told me this woman's a real gossip, and she's going to end up telling everybody in the company. So I was walking to a meeting that same day, and she was working as a receptionist, and she looked at me with these giant eyes. She's like, oh, hi. And I'm like, the kind of a look like, well, I have a secret. I know a secret about you. And I just couldn't let her have that power over me. I went down to HR that day, and I explained what was going on. I'm like, look, this is what's going on with me, and I know you don't understand, but I'm afraid I'm going to lose my job. And they've dealt with lesbians and gays, but there's no transgender people. Where I work, just like there was no transgender people in roller derby, in my league. So I actually helped them. I'm like, I'm going to help you out on what to do because I've been doing research. So I got them to do install gender-neutral bathrooms, write a policy for transgender people, and also what they had to do is have meetings with like everybody in the company. There's like 700 people to all tell them about me, and which was that day I see all day long. I see people going to these little meetings and coming out and looking at me and like, that's a big deal for one person. So I ended up, that was a Friday, I came to work Monday, and I got to the parking lot, and I'm like, oh my God, I gotta go to the building. How am I gonna do this? I'm gonna go into the side door, I'm gonna sneak into the office so no one will see me. Because I work in, there's all men, I work in a printing company with the machines, I schedule all the machines, I buy all the paper. And I generally just walk through the printing shop and go into my office. I'm like, not today. What are all these guys gonna think? So as I got to the door, I'm like, I'm not changing anything about myself just for them. I'm just going to walk right through this door, I'm not going to look at anybody, go to my desk, and start my day. Which I did. I sat down and I literally started shaking. There were people in the office who I thought would be the most negative and unaccepting, turned out to be the first ones to come over to me and say, hey, let me see what you look like. Oh, you look great. You need to go out and like have a little celebration and all kinds of things. So the people in the office were fine, but the guys in the shop, most of them were great. Like they understand I'm the exact same person that I've always been. I just look different. But some people can't handle that. Some people can't handle change. I have a brother that still doesn't talk to me. And there's these 4 particular guys out in the plant who used to talk to me every day. Hey, how you doing? What's going on? Now when I go out, and to this day, I just transitioned to work in January. As I approach them, they turn around, walk the other way. They'll look away, they'll look down. They have not said even hi to me since January, which is okay. I understand. Other things I experience in my life are I'm very open about who and what I am. So it makes me a target. I've been harassed in print. I've been harassed in public places by males and females, and I've been attacked physically recently. Most recent time, 2 weeks ago. But through it all, it's not going to change what I'm doing or who I am, because I'm very proud of what I am, and nobody's going to make me do anything differently. I'm going to keep moving forward, and if people don't respect me or accept me, that's fine. I just won't have anything to do with them. So. Pretty much my little story.